Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're skipping the foundational basics of the CMS Rural Health Transformation Program. We'll assume you already know the background in the $50 billion national context. Instead, we're getting straight into how South Carolina is executing this federal mandate. We'll focus strictly on the state's policy to execution plan, its structural approach, and exactly how it translates federal guidelines into state-level operations for its 1.75 million rural residents. Let's get right to it. Here's our roadmap for this breakdown. First, federal guidelines and alignment. Second, South Carolina's 5 specific initiatives. Third, the 5-year budget allocation. Fourth, the state grant distribution process. And finally, sustainability and future metrics. Starting with Section 1, Federal Guidelines and Alignment. To meet CMS goals like Make Rural America Healthy Again and Sustainable Access, South Carolina isn't building a theoretical framework from scratch. Instead, the state is taking established programs and mapping them directly to the federal mandate. For example, they're utilizing existing state models like the Birth Outcomes Initiative and the Alliance for Innovation on Maternal Health to secure and deploy this federal funding. They are essentially using proven groundwork to answer the federal call. Disalignment isn't just a one-time paperwork exercise at the start of the grant. As the CMS post-award FAQ strictly outlines, even though the application covers the entire 5-year program, states are going to be reassessed annually. Because of this ongoing oversight, South Carolina has to continuously demonstrate empirical progress on its policy commitments if it wants to keep the funding flowing year after year. Moving on to Section 2, South Carolina's 5 initiatives. To serve a rural demographic that makes up about 32.6% of the state, South Carolina categorized its programmatic execution into 5 specific pillars. Connections to Care focuses heavily on digital infrastructure, rolling out modern electronic health records and remote patient monitoring. Next, Leveling Up is meant to scale existing pilot programs statewide for chronic disease management and pediatric care. Wellness Within Reach deploys mobile health units and crisis response teams directly to underserved geographic areas. Shoring Up to Sustainability addresses systemic operational issues like workforce recruitment and facility upgrades. And finally, the Tech Catalyst Fund provides targeted support for rural health technology startups. Section 3 covers the 5-year budget allocation. For Year 1, South Carolina's award amount is exactly $200,030,252.32. This represents just the first tranche of what the state requested, a 5-year, $1 billion total federal investment aimed entirely at modernizing rural healthcare infrastructure. When you look at the steady-state funding distribution for years 2 through 5, the operational priorities become pretty clear. The vast majority of the funding, $159.7 million annually, goes directly outward to community subrecipients. Another $26 million is allocated for contractual services to handle things like statewide needs assessments. Crucially, the state's internal administrative costs are strictly capped at 10%, which equates to $20 million a year. The model is deliberately designed to push capital out of the state agency and directly into the hands of rural providers. Next up is Section 4, the state grant distribution process. To push that money out the door, the state is executing a highly standardized procurement process. Step 1. The South Carolina Department of Health and Human Services releases targeted requests for proposals specific to each of those 5 initiatives we just discussed. Step 2. Local applicants submit proposals that explicitly map their localized projects to both state objectives and CMS goals. They have to prove exactly how they'll impact their specific population. Step 3. The state awards the funds based on strict alignment, feasibility, and execution capability. To manage these grants and maintain compliance, South Carolina established a dual-layered oversight structure. Internally, there's a dedicated 8-person multidisciplinary team at SCDHS, which includes a program director, analysts, and specific initiative coordinators. Externally, they brought on BDO Government Services LLC as a compliance partner. Their job is strictly focused on monitoring overall program compliance and tracking subrecipient performance, which is what ensures the state passes those rigorous annual CMS reassessments. Finally, Section 5, Sustainability and Future Metrics. The core operational challenge of any grant program this large is what happens when the funding inevitably ends. So how does this survive after 2030? What exactly is South Carolina's long-term operational strategy once the $1 billion is fully drawn down and federal support stops? The state's project narrative provides a very pragmatic answer. First, interventions are designed to be embedded into existing operational budgets and workflows, rather than creating new standalone dependencies. There's also a heavy emphasis on one-time, durable infrastructure improvements, things like electronic health records or facility upgrades, which have significantly lower ongoing maintenance costs once they're installed. Additionally, South Carolina is enforcing the mandatory 5-year service commitments required by CMS to ensure clinicians stay in rural areas, and they are leveraging existing advisory bodies rather than standing up entirely new oversight boards. Ultimately, this is South Carolina's core strategy. They are utilizing these federal funds for initial transformative investments meant to build resilient local healthcare ecosystems, purposefully avoiding the creation of permanent financial dependencies. The real test over the next 5 years will be whether these localized, one-time investments can permanently alter the trajectory of rural health in the state, or if the deeper structural challenges will simply outlast the federal funding. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you in the next one.